What is the voice of God? Number two question, does God really speak? The answer is yes. God speaks. God really speaks. And if we have a speaking God, then we need someone who can hear the voice of God. When you read the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 3, verse 1 to 10, you're going to see the story of Samuel when he was younger, when he had no ability, when he did not understand the voice of God. So there was a priest, a prophet, like a father to Samuel, who understood the voice of God. Samuel heard a voice calling his name, and he did not understand who was calling his name. And he went to Eli and said, I heard a voice, you called me. And Eli said, I did not call you. And this happened 3 times. So when Samuel went again to Eli, Eli told him, whenever you hear that voice, just answer and say, yes, Lord, your servant is hearing. So that was God trying to talk to Samuel, but Samuel did not have the understanding of the voice of God. So in this series, we are going to be teaching and learning on how to understand, on how to hear. So what is the voice of God? What is the voice of God? The voice of God is the will of God. In politics, when we say the voice of the people, what are we saying? We are talking about the will of the people. When somebody says your voice, I'm standing here to represent someone, to speak on behalf of someone, it means the person is representing your will. So the voice of God is the will of God. So if you don't understand the voice of God, you will not be able to know the will of God. And that is why lots of people all over the world go astray, because they cannot interpret, they cannot understand the voice of God. So in this series, I'm going to help you by the grace of the Holy Spirit, by the power of the Holy Spirit, to elaborate on how to understand the voice of God. Now, before we get to the understanding of the voice of God, I want us to know how God speaks. God speaks in 4 ways. Now, the first way God speaks is through signs, like that which happened with Moses in the burning bush. Moses saw fire, but the bush was not burning. In the book of Exodus chapter 3, precisely from verse 2 to 5. So Moses saw fire in the bush, but the bush was not burning. So that was a sign. So that was God speaking. When you read down, you see, after the fire, then the voice of God came in. God spoke to Moses. Now, the second way God speaks is through visions, like what happened with Joseph in the book of Genesis chapter 37 verse 5. Joseph had a dream which he told his brothers. It was a dream, it was a vision. Now, the third way that God speaks is through sounds. God speaks through sounds, like that which happened with Abraham in the book of Genesis chapter number 22 verse 12. And Abraham heard the voice of God. God spoke to Abraham, do not lay your hands on that child. That was an audible voice. God spoke to Abraham. That was through sound. Now, the last way that God speaks is through the letters. When we talk about the letters, we are talking about the word. When we talk about the word, we are talking about the law, the promises, the testimonies, and the history. So God speaks through his word. It is the combination of these 4 methods that make up the prophecy. Okay? That make up the prophecy. Because if we are going to be teaching you on how to understand the voice of God, then very soon we are going to be making you indirectly a prophet. And when I talk about a prophet, I'm not talking about a prophet who owns a church. I'm talking about a prophet who will hear God for himself. Please, I want you to stay on this channel and follow up this series. By the end of this series, you are going to understand you are going to be able to understand the voice of God so clearly that you'll be able to differentiate between good and evil. God bless you. I am Prophet Allen Gospel. Meet me in the series 2 of how to hear the voice of God. Thank you.